Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Transfer Day, Transfer Decision Day webinar for the Economics, the History, and East Asian Studies Department. What we're going to do today is we're going to introduce ourselves and the advising office, and we'll introduce you to some of our transfer students in our majors, and we'll do a quick Q&A panel so that you can get an idea of what it's like to be a transfer student here at UC Davis. So this is the advising staff for the Economics, History, and East Asian Studies Advising Center. My name is Chris Dosick.
Hi, I'm Brandy Fleming.
Hi everyone, I'm Cindy Alvarenga.
Hello, my name is Joanne Pian.
And the other person listed in this is our supervisor, Anya Gibson, and unfortunately she wasn't able to attend the meeting with us. And so next what we want to do is we want to introduce you to our transfer student panel. And so we'll ask them to introduce themselves and let you know maybe what major they are. First off, we have Mario.
Hi, my name is Mario Gonzalez, and I am a history major. And this is my first year at UC Davis, and I've been enjoying it so far.
Great. Nicole?
Hi, my name is Nicole. I transferred fall of 2019, and I'm an economics major.
Fantastic. Francisco?
Hi, everyone. My name is Francisco. I just transferred last year in the fall 2019, and my economics major also.
And Lucas?
My name's Lucas. I transferred in 2018, and I'm also an economics major.
Well, thank you guys for joining us. So what we're going to do now is we're going to ask a couple of questions of our transfer student panel to maybe give you guys an inside look of again, life at UC Davis. If you have any questions that you would like to ask, there should be a Q&A feature that you can type in your questions, and we will either try to answer them through the Q&A section or present them to the transfer students.
Okay, so I will begin asking questions. Can you all hear me? Yeah. I had some sound issues earlier, so making sure. Okay, panel, can you give us suggestions on how to get involved on campus and activities you enjoy?
Join a club. Go up to the tables. Like, everyone who's there is friendly, and they're probably bored and waiting for someone to talk to them, especially around week 3. So if something interests you, go up and talk to people.
Yeah, I would say the club fair days, but as well, even before you come to campus, you can join a lot of like Facebook pages or Instagram pages and just get a lot of connections and see what's out there to see what you enjoy doing and people that can connect you to those activities.
Facebook was a good way to meet people, and also make yourself vulnerable. And what I mean by vulnerable is go out there. Don't be afraid to meet people or go into other offices, any office. Seek help. Seek, in other words, network, and you will be fine.
Also, I would suggest, like in your first year, join a first year seminar. That's a great experience where you can meet a lot of people also. There's a whole bunch of it. I just was on one, the East Asian Studies seminar. It was awesome every week. I mean, when we had the opportunity right now, due to the circumstances, it might be more, it's difficult, but you know, at least you would have the chance to connect and socialize with a lot of people and talk about, you know, different stuff, you know, connect with some different cultures also.
Great advice. Great advice. Okay. Another question. What would be your best advice for navigating your first year as a transfer student? You guys pretty much answered that a little bit, but
just look for a lot of resources. There's you know, the economics administration. Definitely, you can go walk in. The staff is very friendly. All advisors are just always there for us. Email them. I mean, technically, I mean, they're all there for you. So don't be afraid and just walk in, ask questions. I mean, even professors and all that, once if you decide to be here with us, I mean, definitely they're a great resource. Don't be afraid of them. You know, a lot of times, and I'm talking about personal experience, I'm afraid of talking to my professors, and it's like, no, once you start talking to them, even though any type of subject, I mean, they're there for you.
And in terms of classes, the first semester or the first quarter, what I found helpful is when you do move in, if you do decide to go to Davis, you have like 2 or 3 days before classes start. And I found it helpful to walk around the campus, get familiar where your classes are and where all these resources are found, so that when you do need them, you know where they are available.
So for me as a first year transfer student, I spent a lot of time in the basement of the Death Star, in tutoring sessions and office hours with TAs. And if you're a little bit intimidated by professors, which is like a reasonable thing, the TAs are far less intimidating. They're probably only going to be a few years older than you. Depending on how old you are as a transfer, some of them might be younger than you, so it's really comfortable to talk to them.
I would recommend get to know your advisors off the bat. Go and I would say stalk them. Well, not to that sense, but you know, make yourself be known. Make a name for yourself. Also, go to your professor's office hours. Don't be afraid to talk to them. That's what they're there for. They're there to help you out. But of course, do this respectfully. Davis is a very, very lovely campus. The faculty is very, very good, and I had my own issues at the beginning of the quarter, but since I reached out, a lot of these issues were resolved very quick because here at Davis, we have a very good support system.
You guys are so nice. Okay. Any more?
Can I actually double up on the support system?
Yeah.
And I see something transferring from a CC to UC in the chat there, and like going from a semester system to a quarter system is a really big change, and going to a UC from a CC is also a pretty big change, and it's stressful to deal with that. So there's like mental health services in like the health center and in South Hall. So like take full advantage of those if you need them, like just even to walk in, like they're great.
That's great. So this is kind of just a personal question. What do you love about your majors? The academics, what you're learning, the teachers, the environment.
It's like a superpower. You know, no, seriously, like I'm an economics major, so this probably sounds cheesy a little bit, like the comparison, but that's how I see it. Like, have you seen, I'm assuming that almost everyone saw the movie Twilight, right? When Bella turns out into a vampire, that she sees things that she didn't see as human before. So technically that's how I see this in my economics major. Like before, I used to go to the store and just like, okay, I'm gonna just buy this or whatever. And now when you apply those concepts that you're learning, like I said, even on a daily basis, it's something like, okay, I'm buying this product, and it's like, okay, what is the background of this product? Like starting from the company, all the circumstances that are going on right now, how is it affecting, you know, all those things. Like it's like, oh no, now I see, and like I'm able to understand those things that before I was like, just go in and do whatever. But now I can apply some of the concepts that I'm learning here at Davis, and it's like, oh, it's awesome. Like it's really exciting.
I love that.
So I'm also an economics major, but one thing that I love about being in the major is not only are you learning these concepts like we were saying, but you have support within the school and within your professors and your advisors, and like clubs like the finance club or the women in economics or different things like that will support you along the way. Not only if you need help, like you're struggling in your classes, but even if you're not, you still have that support of, we're with you, we know what you're going through, and you know, we're here to help to see where you will be, you know, 2 or 3 years from now when you graduate.
What about you, Mar? What do you love about the history major?
Well, why do I love history?
Mhm.
There's many reasons why, but the main one was because I wanted to find out where I came from. And I wanted to find out more about my family's background. And I've always found myself very interested in things, why they occurred, where they originated from, why we are here. And I found this in history by doing some research. You go deeper, you fall into so many rabbit holes that you end up collecting more information than what you were looking for. And that to me is a very beautiful thing. Not only is history very it's a very dear thing for me, but it also allows me to understand other cultures. And when you understand other cultures, you're able to see life through a different perspective. And that again, that also is a beautiful thing. So history has given me another view to this entire world and to my life. Not only that, when I see other students from other cultures, it's interesting to me. You know, I like to find out what their background was as far as cultures. And, you know, and I compare my culture with other cultures and we're all very similar. We just have a different language. And I think it's beautiful. That's why I love history.
Thank you, Mark. What about you, Lucas?
So as an econ major, I don't know, I've always loved numbers. I've tended to put things in terms of numbers. I've tended to put problems in terms of numbers. I'm really interested in like public applications of economics, and anytime I could go into a professor's office hours and ask about a policy and like if the theory behind the policy would work, and they would take my question seriously and we would get to have a big conversation about it. It's a lot of fun. Like Mario said, diving down the rabbit holes of the subject that you're interested in is just, it's a lot of fun. And at UC Davis, everyone else here enjoys that too, I think.
Give me goosebumps, you guys. That's great.
And may I also say that all my history professors have been very supportive. And I've never been, okay, how can I put it? They've always been very helpful when I've had questions, office hours or whatever. If they couldn't meet with me at a certain hour, they found time. And so that's the other thing that I really love about us out here and the whole UC Davis thing. They will make time for you.
Yes, thank you, Mario, for that. I do have there's a couple questions that are coming in for all of you. We have some excited prospective students. So this will be kind of like a two-parter. What was your biggest surprise? And this could be history or economics when you first transferred. And are there any mistakes or struggles that you would wish to share that happened during your first year?
I have one. Technically, when you transfer from a community college, you think that you're, and I don't want to sound mean, but it's just being honest. You think that you're like, okay, I got this. And we forget that the transferring, the new adaptation that you need to get from the semester system to the quarter system for those who apply that, it's hard. It's hard. And then also you gotta, I feel like community college is a little bit sometimes more like a high school where you depend a little bit on your teachers and your professors. And here is not like that. Don't expect that. So you need to work hard. And I'm telling you this as a student perspective. Yes, professors and other resources are there for you to help you out, but don't be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go and wait, study for the last day or whatever. No, every day you need to be on top of things. Like don't just relax thinking that it's gonna be the same thing, because it's not. So that would be one of my recommendations. I came like that and I was like, oops, I really don't know anything technically. When in my first quarter, I have a big trouble in calculus because we applied that. And it's like, okay, I need to go and study twice as much and do like a review for all the stuff that I saw in community college. So And then the second quarter, like, it was way better. So yes, the help is there, but also you need to work hard. So don't like, that's my tip and my advice. So just, be prepared for that.
Yeah, so kind of seconding, like always being on top of your stuff. I actually made my mistakes. I went to UC Santa Cruz my first year out of high school, and then community college, and then Davis. So most of my mistakes were made at Santa Cruz. But the biggest thing for my success at a UC was having a planner, writing down all my assignments in it. And I know that might sound silly, but really one of the biggest things for me.
Yeah, so one thing that I did my first quarter is I only took 12 units, which is about 3 classes, which before at community college, I would take about 16 to 19 units. So it is a lot more studying, like we were saying. It's a lot more of not being on top of your stuff, but also understanding that it's more, even the classes itself, it's more in depth, it's more information that you need to understand and be able to test on and keep going in all of your classes. So it is more difficult than a community college, but it's not impossible.
Like, you actually need to do the readings.
And try to apply those concepts in real life. That will help a lot. Like simple stuff, like, for example, in our major, like, supply and demand, what is that? How can I apply that in real life? So that way you can actually understand and just, have that question in yourself, like, how will explain that to a kid of 8 or 10 years? Like, how will I explain those concepts so that way they can understand that? And that way you will learn, and you will, like, truly learn, not just memorize, which is a big difference also.
Yeah, I was gonna add to that point. That's kind of what I saw the difference was between community college and UC Davis. Community college, they were like, you have this information, okay, good, memorize it, say it back to us, you're good. But then at UC Davis, it's a lot of applying it and really truly understanding the concepts behind the theory, and it's a lot more information.
Yeah.
Great, thank you guys. That was an amazing response. So there's been a few questions about just transitioning. So if anyone would like, I know a few of you touched upon it, but the adjustment from community college to UC, transitioning again to UC Davis, how many hours do you spend studying a week?
Well, I would say my transition from community college to this level of university was difficult. One was I never been in the quarter system before. I was in the semester system, which semester 16 weeks, quarters 10 weeks. So every week, basically, we were reading a book per class. So that's about like three books a week that you have to write. I mean, you have to read. And then in the second week, every 2 weeks, we had papers to do. So within that time, you had to write, you had to read and take notes and write. Now, what I did, I started, I seek help with this, I can't remember the name of this program, but it taught me how to manage my hours, my time. And that actually helped me, because when I came in here, I thought I had it done. I thought, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. No, you have to here you have to learn to plan your day, break up your hours. This is what you're gonna do this hour, from this hour to this hour, this hour to this hour. And you will find if you do that, it will be very helpful, as well as get yourself a calendar, note everything down there every day. If you want, this will be even far more helpful. Note down the entire quarter, everything that you have to do, because your professors will lay everything out for you in the syllabus. So now you have to go in there and you have to pick that syllabus as just like it's a document lab. Take out the notes, transfer them onto your calendar, and every day look at your calendar. Make sure you're doing what you're doing, and you should be on top of things if you do something like that.
Yeah, another thing, like, if it's that question, like how long or how many hours should I study? I mean, they give us like technically like the math of it, like, okay, for every unit, you need to spend, I don't know, 2, 3 hours out of the classroom. But honestly, like that will depend on your own schedule, on your own, you need to, how you organize yourself, and honestly, how disciplined, how you commit you are to your classes. You know, because if you ask us, we have different ways and different approaches and different hours that we study. I mean, I can tell you, very honest, sometimes I feel like I don't even have social life, but that's just me. That's personally. Like, I just go, and when the library was available, technically I will stay there all day, and that was my place. That was my sanctuary right there for study. So I can tell you, I was studying a lot, but you gotta find that balance where you can, you know, like Mario said, put everything in a schedule, and organize everything by hour. Like how many hours I'm gonna study for this class, how many hours I'm gonna, go take a break, go out with friends, things like that, or Zoom call them due to the circumstances or something. But you need to have a balance. Don't just, that's one of the mistakes I'm still making. Maybe it's just like focusing too much in one thing, and that, because you saturate yourself, and then you get to the point where you probably feel so stressed out that you not even learning well. So just keep that balance, or just be organized. Make a plan and just stick to it. That's a good advice for you.
Yeah, so if we want to break out numbers, I think I did 17 units most quarters that I was there, and I tended to work like 10 hours a day, 5 days a week on schoolwork, including going to class. And like Francisco was saying, I just hung out in the library when I wasn't in class, sometimes outside in the arboretum, reading if the weather was good enough. But yeah, it's a lot of time, and I was fortunate enough to not have to work. And that was really helpful for me. So I
Yeah, for me, what I noticed is that when I was at community, I would study maybe 1, maybe 2 hours for a class, but here at UC, it is at like 3, 4 hours per class. It's a lot more. It's almost like double your study time.
Thank you, Nicole, and thank you to all those that answered. There's questions coming in about opportunities. So opportunities, what are some different opportunities for economic majors, perhaps internship opportunities? I know, Lucas, you probably were interested in the honors thesis. So if anyone can speak about the various opportunities within our majors, we'd love to hear that.
Yeah, if I can jump on the honors thing and actually say something about the working too. So one of the best opportunities available at a research agency is at a research institution is to work as a research assistant for a professor, or for a TA even sometimes has funding, but that's a little bit more rare. But that is a great work opportunity. And then actually I did that for a little bit, and then that segued into the honors program for the economics department, which is difficult to get into as a transfer student. I actually didn't even get the email when they sent it out the first time, and I had to go seek it out. So as a transfer student, definitely know that you need to be on top of every opportunity that you want to take advantage of, and you need to go seek them out. But talk to Professor Giovanni Perry if you're interested in that, or talk to me some more after this, and I'd be more than happy to chat more about it.
Yeah, definitely. There's a bunch of resources out there. If you worry about trying to apply those concepts that you're learning in class, I mean, as soon as you get involved with the UC Davis, there's a website that is Handshake. Technically, just make an account there, and it's not just for looking for work. In case you're interested in working a part-time or something like that, they also have internships and all types of other jobs that you can actually apply and apply those concepts that you learn at school. Also, talk to your professors. They always, it's a research university, so they always have work technically, and some of them, they actually will tell you at the beginning of the quarter, like, hey, you know what, I'm working in this research. At the end of the quarter, maybe if you're interested, you come and talk to me, and then I can, make a team so that you can, work in the different areas collecting data, or if you are more advanced, maybe, study that data and transfer it to terms that normal people will understand, things like that. So, and not just that, maybe even working on the website, or if they have one, like, it's a lot of fun things to do, but you need to, once again, you need to knock at those doors. They're not going to be open by themselves. You need to go knock the doors and say, hey, I would like to volunteer, or do you have any opportunities where I can volunteer or work for, or, get involved. And that's the key.
Yeah, also on campus, there is, also on their website, it's internship and career. If you go in there, maybe on campus or on the website, they have a list of internships you can apply for. I would say, in terms of jobs and internships, just apply to as many as you can, because you will get a lot of no's, but you just need that one. So my advice is to apply to as many as you can. Get those networking, get those connections, and it'll open you up to a lot of opportunities.
Great, thank you. So another question that came in was if you can speak on the average class size in an upper division course.
Well, the average class size depends, because sometimes you'll have, like my first classes, there were classes that I had about maybe 40 students. And then you have your lecture hall classes, which are about 200 plus. So that's where you have to kind of, that kind of actually depends, like I said. But either way, whatever classes, whatever the size is, you still learn something from these courses, and they're very interesting. One example of mine was I'm actually taking a Holocaust class, and that's about 200 plus students in the class. Well, before all this happened, I was actually taking the first part of it, and it was a big hall, and the professor was very, he interacted with the students very well. So again, to say, whether you're in a class where maybe about 40, 50 students or 200 plus, you're still gonna come out learning something new before you went into that class.
And if you're an econ student looking for small class sizes, I highly recommend Econ 190s. They tend to be a little bit smaller.
Just a little tiny bit.
I mean, the 190 with the immigration one, I forget the professor's name, but that one was a little bit bigger. But I took one on public economics with Monica Singal, and that one was like 35, 40 students. And I took one, oh, slipping my mind right now, I'm sorry, but they're great classes.
I took the second part of econ development. That was a small class. It was like 30, 40 students.
Any class favorites?
Microeconomics. That's a good one. I like it. Financial economics. That's another one that I enjoy a lot. And I'm actually taking that right now, but it's good. I like it.
Okay, moving on. Aside from the academic shock, what was there a social shock or difficulty making connections? So making friends on campus.
Yeah, so if I could speak to that, because we have these big lecture halls, it is hard to like connect with people because there's so many people that you're like, I don't know if I should be making friends in these lectures or, but actually a quick story, my sister goes to UCI, and her first semester as a freshman, she was telling her advisor, like, yeah, me and a couple students are like friends in class, and she was surprised that she made friends in such a big lecture hall. But I think that that's what you have to do. You have to get out of your comfort zone, make those connections, not only with the professor, but with the people sitting around you, because those lecture halls are so big. you need that support and that help in those classes.
I'll be honest. I met some acquaintances that didn't work out in my courses, but that didn't stop me from pursuing that connection. Now I have a really good buddy that he and I work together in our classes, and like Nicole said, don't be afraid. Network, talk to people. If they don't want to talk to you, that's fine. Talk to the next one. Someone's gonna say yes.
Yeah, just adding to all that, and they read right on the spot technically. Don't be shy. I'm a very shy person. I'm actually don't like to talk a lot of like right now I'm nervous. Believe it or not, I'm sweating and all that. But just be out of that comfort zone. Talk to everybody. Like I met a lot of my buddies. I met them in what was I believe the orientation day. We just sat next to each other, and then when the quarter began, we were there like, hey, I saw you in orientation. They're like, hey, what's up, man? And then we just start talking, and now we stick together. There's a group of 6 of us technically, and I want to say this, and because I really appreciate like a bunch like the cultures and all that. I'm a Latino. We my friends, there's Asian friends. We have friends from India, and we get all together, and it's crazy how I tell them about, for example, Mexican food or just any type of Latino food, and they're like, oh yeah, let me show you ours, and they take me to their spot, like to their favorite spot, and then it's like, oh man, and then the other person, let me take you to this place, and it's like, before all this happened, like every weekend, like we would plan something, like I will take them to my favorite place to eat tacos or whatever, and I tell them like, this is closest to the authentic Mexican food, and then they will take me to a different place in Sac, like, hey, this is the closest that you can get for Indian food or Pakistani food, and things like that. And it's fun just to talk to them and interact and just find out about their culture, everything. So you just need to step out of that bubble and say, okay, hey, my name is, and I'm here, I'm transferred, I'm scared. What is your story? And then there will be a lot of, like Mario said, a lot of people probably will be like, whoa, who are you? But who cares? Move to the next. There's thousands of students out there, and I want to say almost all of them, if not maybe all of them, they just want to meet people and socialize, especially like at this age. I mean, I'm a little bit older. I mean, maybe, but like when you're in your 19, 20s, you want to socialize. You want to meet people. So don't be afraid. Just go out there and talk to them.
Great advice, everyone. So I have a question now. It could be one of the most important. Why did you choose to come to UC Davis?
I can ask that. I actually asked because before I made my decision, I went to campus like a couple of times. I visit campus, just walk around, just to see how things were. And I just talk to people there, to the students, and I will sit down and say, be like, hey, will you mind just if I ask you a couple questions about the school? And some of them be like, okay. Now some others will be like, yeah. And I actually talked to a couple people. They were like from the other side of the country, from the East Coast, and they were like, I'm like, why you came all the way down here? And they would say, well, just the culture of Davis, like, and I like how friendly they are, and they you can talk to people and they would just be there, always a smile. And I noticed that when I was walking there was this couple people from Bible, like a religion club, and they were like, hey, how you doing? I was like, hi. And I was like kind of a surprise, and they're like, what are you doing here and all this, and always a smile. And yeah, they told me like, oh yeah, we're part of this club, and they talked to me a little bit about it. And then I was like, and they actually showed me Davis a little bit. We walk around. They walked me to the Memorial Union, which is technically where most of the food is. And they showed me the bowling alley, because we have a bowling alley, and that's cool. I was like, holy man, I like it, and things like that. So yeah, I will say that the people just they are friendly. When I talked to some staff, they were very helpful. They were always always with a smile, and that's one of the things I like a lot. Also the place, um, they was a little bit closer to where some of my family is. So that's a key thing. But I'm adventurous, so I can tell you that I'm from a different country, and it's like I wanted to study abroad and all that, and it's like I'm taking the adventure to look for new lands, new adventures, and it's fun. It's fun because you get the chance to actually meet new people and just have a different perspective of the entire world. So that that was those were my key points to make the decision to come to Davis.
Yeah, and to speak on the culture as well, UC Davis is a culture where everyone's being supported. It's not like a lot of those higher, UCs or stuff like that. You hear of competitiveness and stuff like that, but UC Davis isn't like that. It's supportive. You have those resources. You have those people that are there to support you. The culture is just very, calm, very open to anything. We have staff, we have students that are here to help you. And I really liked how it wasn't, competitive, and it was more supportive to the students, to the transfers, and everyone on campus.
Yeah, I had a really similar experience. When I was trying to decide where to go, I was deciding between UCSB and UC Davis. And when I came to UC Davis, everyone was just walking around smiling on campus. And that was not the case in Santa Barbara. And when I came here, I found like a collaborative environment it was really good to learn here.
And also, oh, sorry, Mario.
I visited other campuses, other universities before I visited Davis. And when I visited Davis, I made my mind was made up on the instant. People were very nice. The weather was excellent. I'm a Southern California guy. It reminded me of Southern California. And the land is flat. There's no hills and stuff like that. And then, riding a bike is awesome. So I love UC Davis. And I would really contemplate on living here forever. I mean, I like it. UC Davis is very, it's awesome. If I could put it into one word, man, it's awesome. I love it.
Also, we're kind of like a very centric spot. You want to go to the ocean, it's San Francisco right there. You want to go to the mountains, there's Yosemite. Like we're like in a very centric location where you can go anywhere. You can go from the mountains to the ocean. I mean, and also another thing related to the universities, one of the things that I loved about them is the centers. Like, you have the Native Center, the Native American Center, you have the Chicanos Latin Center. From pretty much any nationality, you will find groups, organizations, centers that they're gonna be there. Like, for example, for the Latino one, we have our own little space where you go. You can actually take a nap there. You sometimes they have food, sometimes they have at least they have coffee or things like that, and they have different activities you can get involved also. And you get a lot of other information that could be useful for you, and that's another thing that I love about Davis.
Wow, you all are amazing. We have a question that someone's asking about. Where have you all transferred from?
Again, like I said, I'm from Southern California. I transferred from East Los Angeles College, if anybody knows where that's at. That's in right off the 60 freeway in Montebello, Southern California. And I spent 7 years there. It took me 7 years to get my AA. I felt like I was ready to stop what I was doing because I felt I was never going to finish. But being broke and being unemployed made me pursue that transfer degree because I wanted to hold something that could never be taken away from me again, and that's an education. So at the age of 35, I decided to go back to school, and I transferred out maybe when I was about 42, I came here to Davis. So that's where I came from, East Los Angeles College. Excellent school.
Butte Community College. So I'm from I got my transfer degree technically from the Chico area, Butte Community College. And as you know, probably there's the CSU is there, Chico State. And that was another option that I had among with the different ones, but kind of like those two were the main ones between Chico State and UC Davis. And definitely once I visited campus, definitely they just stole me away. But yeah, I'm from Butte College. Most of my education was technically, until high school was from Mexico, until I just decided to come here and try to study. I started from learning the language, which I'm pretty sure we all shared. A lot of us share that same story. You have to learn the language first, and then from there, I didn't imagine that I will be in community college, and now I'm at UC Davis, so that's great. So yeah.
So I transferred from Bakersfield College. So basically my decision was either UC Davis or Cal State Bakersfield. And I'm just very glad that I chose UC Davis.
I transferred from Cuesta Community College in San Luis Obispo.
Thank you, everyone. Another question, any advice for enhancing research skills when it comes to history? And what are some programs offered to history majors? And we'll open it up to economics as well.
Okay, so for history, if you want to get any further into any research, I would suggest the library. And I worked at the library too, but they have so much to offer. And I'll give you an example. They have a room that's called the, my God, I can't remember what it's called. It's called the collections room. And in there, what they have, I'm just gonna tell you one thing that they have there that caught my attention. Since I'm a history major, and the first language that was ever recorded was by the Sumerians, and that was it was called a cuneiform. Now, cuneiform, this library has a tablet from that time, a tablet that somebody actually, if you stop and think about it, somebody way back then thought, and to me, that's amazing. That's amazing that Davis has a piece like that here. So this is what I'm saying. You want to do some research, go to the library. They have so many things that it'll blow your mind away. It blew my mind away. I go visit that rock every chance I get. I take pictures of it. I study it. Oh man, it's amazing. That's what I would suggest. Go to the library. And if they don't have it, they could direct you in a direction that you will find what you're seeking for, what you're looking for.
So definitely the library. Even as an econ student, there's the library research desk, and there's just like people sitting there whose job it is to help you find stuff. And you can just go to them with like a cool or interesting question, and they'll help you figure it out, and it's fantastic. But also as an econ student, especially as a transfer, coming in, if you want to do research, you need to be on top of your classes, and you need to get a few out of the way quickly. You need to do the core set. So I think that's 100 A and B, 101, and then 102, which is Introduction to Data Analysis. And then if you really want to be useful in the research context, you also need to take Econ 140, which is a hard class, but you're going to want to take it as soon as possible so you can start doing more fun stuff.
Well, speaking of classes that you need to get out of the way and just other classes, tell me your favorite non-major class. that you've taken?
I took a lot of classes in the Spanish department, and that was a really good choice. And I kind of regret not going all the way and getting a minor.
I've honestly been focusing more on taking more economics classes, but I took a couple that are not related to economics, and one of them was wine, introduction to winemaking. And I mean, that was pretty fun. I mean, it's not like, it's more like theory more than practice, but you learn a lot of cool stuff. I like that one. And it's, if you're just looking to add a little bit of units, if you don't want to have a fully load quarter just to major classes that you need to take, I definitely will recommend. I think it's just like a 3-unit, if I'm not mistaken, class. And also, once again, seminars in your first year, take advantage of those. They give you, I believe, 1 or 2 units, and they're very fun. So it's just a pass or no pass. Take those. You can take a couple in your first year. So just take those, or I don't know if it's as many as you want. I forgot that detail, but just take those. They're very, very good to, just get an easy unit if you're looking for that. But other than that, I'm taking some, and I'm considering the minor, which is technology management classes. And for those who like a little bit, more management type of stuff, those are pretty interesting. You see a lot of marketing, supply chain, a little bit of accounting, things like that. Those are fun too.
Yeah, to speak on that, the tech management classes, they're really eye-opening because they teach you not only the marketing and all of that, but they teach you communication, they teach you teamwork skills, they teach you all the stuff that you need even after college. So I think those are really good classes too. And then similar, I've only been taking a lot of classes for my major, but one class that I find interesting and would like to take if I have room in my schedule for it is there's a history of coffee class. It's similar to the wine tasting, but it's coffee related, and I think that's really interesting.
Well, I have to apologize. I haven't really taken any electives. I've just been taking nothing but history courses and Spanish courses. I forgot to mention I'm also majoring in Spanish, so I'm just focusing, and now I decided to take on a Jewish minor too.
I was going to mention that.
So I mean, I haven't really considered taking any electives. I have not. So I can't really comment on that. Sorry about that, guys.
Kind of like you're just building your program, right? And what
Yes.
could go well together, and yeah, no, that sounds
See, I want to leave from Davis with a job lined up, or at least something waiting for me out there. I don't want to be I don't want to say the word wasting, but I'm gonna have to use it 3, 4, 6 months finding a job. So I want to come out of here like a sharp tool.
Yeah. Well, I got a big question for you, and it doesn't have to be 100%, but what do y'all want to do after this? What's something what are you working toward? Do you want to go to grad school? Do you want to go right into jobs? What do you want to do? And do you feel prepared?
Sorry. So one thing that I want to do, especially this year, which is going to be my last year, find a lot of financing internships, because I want to go into finance and, kind of the business side of economics. So I'm really trying to find those internships to be able to be ready when I do graduate next year.
Great.
Saying internships to same thing, somewhere in the financial accounting area. I definitely want to, hopefully in the near future, just for personal experience, maybe make my own, and it's going to be a non-profit organization, train some of heart diseases, especially focuses on kids. So that's one, I mean, it sounds big dream, but that's hopefully I can achieve. And just, I want to just work in the numbers and all those things that I love, which, it's financing, accounting, and all related with economics. Hopefully I can jump in a big company, one of the big fours. So It's technically the sky is the limit. I mean, we have all these plans, but another thing is you need to have a plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. You need to be flexible to whatever circumstances happen in life. I can tell you, 10 years ago, I wasn't thinking to being here. My mind was in a different spot. So, and now I'm here. I needed to adapt, and you need to be, consider that also. We all have dreams. We all have, our goals, but just be prepared, and that you need to have different plans and be flexible to whatever life throws you at you. Because I mean, we're in school. Once jumping out in the real world is a whole different story. So you just need to be prepared for that.
What I want to be prepared for is life. After this, like I said, this is a stepping stone for me. I really want to go to grad school, get a master's, and my main goal really is to become a teacher. Teach. That's what I want to do. I want to teach these young minds what's really going on, and I decided that the moment purpose has not changed. So that's my goal. That's what I'm headed towards. And I will succeed in that area.
So I love studying economics, and I'd like to go on and get a PhD at some point. But next year, what I have lined up is a 2-year research assistantship with the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. So hopefully that'll put me in, hopefully that'll be a good next step to put me in a position to get into a good grad school. But Davis and the economics department and the honors program within the economics department specifically put me in a position to get the really good job offer that I have right now.
Well, if you only got one piece of advice, one little tiny statement, what would it be? Because we got to wrap it up, but I want to see what would be your last piece of advice. Or
2 words.
What is it? I love it. I love it. It's like a song.
2 words, work hard.
Okay, work hard. That's good. What about you,
Go
Mark?
to office hours.
Go to office hours. Good one.
I said,
Make connections.
Make connections.
don't be afraid to fail. It's only a failure if you don't learn from it.
Man, well, you are all amazing. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to pass it over to Chris now.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was all super informative and super helpful. For those of you that are watching, we want to bring up this last slide, is just different ways that you can contact our advising centers. So we have email addresses, which is probably the best way to get in touch with us right now. That if you have any questions about anything that we've gone over, other questions about the program, or anything else that we can help out with, please feel free to go ahead and email us. We also have other social media. You can connect with us on Instagram or on Facebook. But there are a number of ways that you can get in touch with us. So please don't be shy. If you have anything that you want to check in about, or if there's anything that we can help you out with, get in touch with us. So I don't think that I have anything else to share. I don't think that there's anything else from the group. So thank you to our transfer panel, and thank you all for the students that are attending. Good luck with your search in college, and we hope to see you here at UC Davis.